In this video, we're going to do a super deep dive into what I think might just be the very best bang for your buck camera backpack on the market today. Let's go ahead and jump into the Brevite Jumper. What's up, my dude? Your friendly neighborhood Tony here, and welcome to the Spare Tech Room, where I try to channel the power of hyperfixation to hopefully help you make better tech choices. Now, if you're like me, you've probably spent a ton of time trying to research and find the very best camera backpack available for you, and you've probably watched a ton of different YouTube videos of people reviewing all kinds of bags. And not to throw any shade, but 9 times out of 10, those bags are being sent to the reviewer by the company. They're messing around with it for a few days and then trying to give you a comprehensive review, but they don't have a lot of experience using the bag itself. And in a lot of cases, that's fine. It's better than nothing. But in this case, the reason why I want to talk to you about this specific backpack is because I've been using this not just for a few days or a few weeks even, but I've had this backpack for about 3.5 years now. So nobody sent me this bag for free. Nobody has any say in what I say about the bag. And although, look, if Brevite wants to send me a bag, I'm totally down to check it out. But in this case, this is just fully my thoughts, my opinions as somebody who has been using this bag for a long time. Now, as I said, I've had this backpack for about 3.5 years now, and I have tested it and compared it against all different kinds of other backpacks, from the super budget, no-name company backpacks that you pick up on Amazon to some of the most popular $300 plus backpacks that you hear about on YouTube. So although everybody's opinions are going to be different and the things that you look for in a backpack might be different than the things that I look for, trust that everything I say in here is 100% my opinion, and it's an opinion that I have formed over a long time. All right, so what we're gonna do now is we're gonna jump over to my top-down camera view, and I'm gonna walk you through the entire bag, show you every bit and piece of it, and then talk about the things that I like about it, the things that I don't like about it, and then ultimately let you know whether or not I think this is something that you yourself should spend your money on. So okay, to the top-down view, and then we'll come back here and finish off. Okay, so here we are. This is my very used Brevite jumper, so if you see a few scuffs or maybe some dog hair on it, don't mind that. That's just what it is after I've used this thing for several years. But let's talk a little bit about the bag itself, and then I'll do a full walkthrough of all the different sides and angles and pockets, so that way you can see exactly what you're getting here. First off, this particular bag comes in a couple different sizes. The one that I have here is the 18 liter. Now, back when I bought this in 2020, that was the only size that was available for this particular backpack. And now they have, I believe, also a 22 liter size. So if you want something a little bit bigger, you might want to go for that. Honestly, if that was available when I bought this bag, I probably would have gone for the bigger one. This one's a perfectly reasonable size for day-to-day use, but I just like to have a little bit of extra room to work with, especially when I'm going on vacation for a week or so. It's just nice to have some extra storage space. So they have the 18 liter, which is here, and then of course the 22 liter. Of course, Brevite, if you want to send me the 22 liter, I will absolutely do a comparison video between this and that, but I just can't justify buying two of the same backpack just because one is a little bit bigger than the other. But either way, the materials that they are both made out of is, and I had to look this up, it is a 640D polyester, which is supposed to be a bit water resistant. It's definitely not waterproof, as you can probably tell here. This is not the kind of material that would completely keep water out, but I will tell you that I've been in the rain here and there. Nothing like a torrential downpour, but a little bit of light rain, and I haven't had any problems with my camera or anything inside getting wet, so it's done a pretty good job of being relatively water resistant. Also, the material is super soft and comfy. Now, I've messed around with a lot of different backpacks made out of a lot of different materials, and oftentimes they can be pretty rough to the touch, but that is one of the positives about this. The material that it's made out of is that it is pretty super soft and comfy to touch. Also, it's pretty easy to keep clean. I haven't gotten a lot of stains on here, but I have washed it before. You can actually throw it in the washer machine itself and haven't had any problems. It still looks very similar to the day that I bought it, even though I have used it pretty roughly for the past 3 years. It's held up super well, and it's easy to clean and to maintain. So kudos to Brevite for that. Now, as you can tell here, I have kind of the army green colorway of this backpack. It comes in a bunch of different colors. I'll try to throw up maybe a picture here so you can see the different color options. I just prefer this particular color myself. And a big part of that is, for those that don't know, I live in Florida, or as I like to call it, the surface of the sun. And so for a significant chunk of the year, it is blazing hot outside. And for whatever reason, most camera backpack manufacturers like to make their backpacks out of this kind of hard black material that just holds heat and just scorches your skin. So going with something, one, that's made out of a more comfortable fabric, but also of a color that doesn't conduct heat as much, is super important for those of us that live in more tropical or just hotter climates. And I feel like that's something that is super underrated and underrepresented in kind of the camera backpack world. For whatever reason, everyone wants this black backpack that's just going to melt your skin. But having something like this made out of this material in different color options is so clutch. One other thing that I want to touch on before we kind of go around and examine all the different pockets, I mentioned it briefly, and that's the size of this one. Now, one of the main things that I was looking for, or a couple of the main things that I was looking for in a camera backpack is something that, yes, I could carry with me day to day. So it's relatively small. It's not going to be a monstrously sized backpack, but I wanted it to be kind of as big as possible while still maintaining a size that would work for something like a carry-on, a personal item carry-on on most flights. And I know the carry-on size dimensions do vary depending on what country you're in or what airline you're flying, but the majority of US flights out of the United States, whether it's with Delta or Southwest Airlines or American Airlines, United Airlines, almost all of them, or at least the majority of them, have the same kind of dimensions that they allow you for a personal item backpack. And that's usually, I believe, 18 inches in height, 12 inches in width, and about 8 inches in depth. And this backpack works perfectly for that kind of dimension requirement. In fact, it could be a little bit bigger, which is why I think I would have preferred to go with the larger option. You could make this a bit bigger and still fit those dimensions. So for me, I was trying to go with as big as I could get while still maintaining that kind of limitation. And so this totally works for that. And in fact, the 22-liter version would work even better. So, okay, let's go ahead and walk through the entire backpack. I'm going to show you every single pocket, let you know what I think about them, and also, more importantly, maybe what I think could be improved with this backpack, because it's not perfect, even though I do love it a lot. There are a few things that I wish, if they were to come out with a version 2 of this, that they would make some adjustments to it. So one of the first things you're going to notice here is kind of the minimal branding. You have a Brevite kind of rubber tag on the front pocket here, as well as a little, I don't know, is that an elk or something? Some kind of deer logo that's just, I don't know if embossed is the right word for it, but it's, you know, in the weaving of the fabric here, it's just kind of like stamped on, and it hasn't come off, so I haven't had any problems with that rubbing off or anything like that. But pretty minimal, simple branding. It's nothing gaudy or over the top. It doesn't look like, it doesn't scream camera backpack. It just looks like a regular, everyday, you know, JanSport normal school backpack, which is one of the things I love about this, because you're kind of operating in stealth mode there, where if you're wandering the streets of a random country or city that you've never been to before, you don't have to worry about people seeing you with this backpack on and thinking, hey, that guy probably has a lot of money worth of camera equipment in his backpack. Let me go ahead and jack that. So it is a stealth and thereby safer way to travel when you have a backpack that looks something like this. Now, at the very front of the pack here, you have this kind of, I don't know, admin pocket, if that's the right word for it. But if we open that up here, there are some mesh dividers where you can slot different cables or battery packs or ND filters or anything like that. You can slide those right into here. And of course, there's a lot of space in here as well for any other larger items that you might want to fit in there. This is really good. I use this a lot of times, like I said, for cables, for my battery pack, for anything that I just want to be able to access really quickly right at the front there. You can just toss it right into this. So that's super handy. As far as ways that they could improve this, maybe if they had a little more organization up here, that might be nice, because right now it's just kind of 4 big mesh pockets and one big dumping area. But honestly, I haven't had any real problems with this. Also, as far as the zippers here, they're all super easy to move. I haven't had any problems with them. I'm not sure if I don't think they're YKK zips, but either way, I haven't had any problems with them getting caught on anything or being damaged. I also really love that they threw these zipper tassels on everything, so it makes it really easy to kind of grab any pocket that you're trying to get into. I will say that there is one issue that I have with this, and we'll kind of get into that once we get into some of the other pockets. But overall, I think the zippers are a win, and I definitely love that they have these tassels that make it really easy to grab onto. Okay, moving along the backpack here, let's go ahead and we'll work our way around it, and then we'll get to kind of the main compartment at the very end. So on the bottom of the backpack, and this is going to be a little difficult to show you with the camera setup that I have here, but at the very bottom, you have these straps, and these can be used for holding a tripod or maybe a jacket. I've definitely used it to hold a jacket when I was in Portugal. I was able to stuff my jacket underneath here, but they loosen up, so they're easy to kind of like expand and make a little bit extra space down here. The one thing I don't like about them is that I wish that these were able to unclip and remove entirely, or at least to unclip them so that you can throw something down here and clip it back on. Instead, what you have to do is loosen it up and try to slide whatever item you have through kind of this section, which, you know, for most things is going to be fine. If you're talking about a tripod or something like that, it won't be an issue. But if you are trying to like shove a jacket in here, it can get kind of caught up and you have to like tug it through. It's not a huge deal. In fact, it's kind of just a small annoyance, but I would prefer it if these did unclip, and that way you could just access it easier. Now, also at the bottom, you do have kind of it's not super hard bottom here, but it's sturdy enough to where if you lay this down on the ground or if you set it down, it's going to be pretty durable and kind of protect your belongings in there. Oh, also, I should mention that there are these strap keepers, these little elastic strap keepers here. So these won't be dangling from the bottom or anything like that. So that's another little nice touch there. Moving over to the side. On this side, you have a couple of things here. One is this is basically a pretty solid water bottle pocket, as well as somewhere where you can store a tripod. It has a strap here that connects with I think they call this a G-hook. So you can kind of strap down your tripod and keep it from going anywhere. Again, you also have these elastic strap keepers on here. So that's also really helpful to deal with any of this excess. I just don't have it tucked away right now. I will say this G-hook here does have a tendency to come off when you're not actively storing something. So if you have something in here and you have it snugged down, it will stay in place. But if this is loose, it will pop off. It's not a big deal, but just a little minor annoyance there. I do like that with this pocket, it fits, I mean, really any tripod that I've put in there and some pretty large water bottles. You might notice here, there is an elastic portion. So this stretches out to kind of fit whatever you need to throw into that side pocket there. So that's really helpful. I like that a lot. Moving along to the other side of the backpack. And here is something we'll get into a little later, but this is where you have the ability to access a kind of a quick access for your camera. So if you store your camera in here, you can unzip this, reach right in and get to it, which is really cool. And one of the things about this backpack that I absolutely love is just the ability to quickly access and pull out your camera so that way you can take some pictures if you're out and about. And again, you have these tassels that are attached to the zippers that make it really easy to, you know, kind of grip and rip and get this bag open as quickly as you can. Now, along the back side of the bag here, there's a lot to talk about here. And you'll notice that I have a little Peak Design clip on here, which is something I didn't realize would be as helpful as it has been, but I definitely recommend this. And it works great with this particular backpack and these straps because they're just the right size to clamp a clip on here. If you're not familiar with this, it is made by the company called Peak Design. I'll link to it in the description box if you want to check it out as well. But basically you put a plate at the bottom of your camera and you can just clip it right onto here. So that way you can kind of go hands-free if you're wandering around and you want to be able to just, you know, throw your camera onto your strap or, you know, take it off quickly and put it right back. It's really great, really helpful. So love having this on here. The straps themselves are comfortable, but they are rather small. Again, they kind of remind me of just your typical JanSport backpack that you might have used in school, but they have a bit of foam in here. So it's comfortable for me. I've used it quite a bit. And I feel like as long as you don't overstuff this backpack and have an insane amount of camera gear in here, it's going to be perfectly comfortable to carry around all day. The back panel also has a bit of a channel here that's recessed to help with, I guess, kind of heat and the buildup of heat on your back. Also, because it's not made out of a black synthetic material that conducts heat, it's going to be way more comfortable than a lot of these other backpacks, especially in the middle of the summer. You're not going to get that gross, sweaty back that you might get from some other backpacks. You also have a luggage pass-through here with the Brevite logo kind of emblazoned upon there, but this is really helpful if you're traveling. You can slide your suitcase handle right through here, so that way you don't have to wear the backpack everywhere you go. You can just throw it on your luggage and wheel it around. So I absolutely use that all the time. Another thing on the back is this kind of secret hidden pocket, which is also really cool for travel, but you can unzip this here and it's a easy place to throw maybe some extra cash that you want to keep hidden, or your passport, your wallet, any of that. You can slide right into here. And because it is going to be up against your back and it's kind of hidden and not a lot of people are familiar with this particular pocket, it's just a good way to kind of keep your valuables safe. So I love that. That's just a really helpful small thing that not every backpack includes, that I just really appreciate that they did here. Okay, so moving along, before we get to kind of the main course, let's talk about two other things here. One is, and this is hard to see, but it is the laptop compartment here. Now this is the one part that is, I forget what they call it here. It's like an aqua guarded zipper, but this is specifically there to kind of keep your backpack safe from the rain or anything like that. You can fit up to a 16-inch, I believe, MacBook in here, or a 16-inch laptop of a reasonable size. I have a 14-inch and it fits perfectly fine, no problem at all. Now, one thing that I know people do appreciate having with these kind of laptop compartments is what they call a false bottom, which is basically at the bottom of the backpack. There's sometimes a bit of space between where the laptop would sit and the actual base of the backpack. There isn't really a false bottom on this one, so it's not perhaps as secure as some other backpacks might be, but I haven't had any problems with it. I don't recommend slamming down your backpack when you have potentially thousands of dollars worth of electronics and camera gear in here. But if you're looking for something that is going to be super sturdy and built like a tank, this probably isn't the backpack for you. This is kind of the more stealth, comfortable, really almost everyday use kind of backpack. So if that's what you're looking for, this might not be the one. But that being said, I haven't had any problems at all with my gear being kept safe in here. Okay, the next thing we'll look at here is kind of this top main compartment. Now you have a couple other zippers up here, again with tassels. These are not aqua guarded. So the only aqua guarded zipper is the one that has your laptop compartment. The rest are just kind of regular zippers here that aren't specifically meant to be waterproof or water resistant. Now, when we open this up, we have a bunch of space in here. This is going to get really interesting here because one, this backpack has the ability, of course, to store all your camera gear down here, which we'll get into in a bit. And then you have just kind of a separate space up top for you to throw some, loose items. You can put a jacket in here. You can put another camera up here if you want to. I know some people like to do that. You can put snacks in here, or if you're going, for me, if I'm traveling, for example, as I mentioned, I took this to Portugal with me, and you're going to little shops and picking up things. You can throw them up here while your camera gear is completely separate and safe in the bottom compartment. Also, you have the ability to open this up completely. So there is a separator in here that keeps the bottom compartment separate from the top. But if you remove that separator and lay it flat, you might see there's some Velcro here that will attach to. That will allow you to use the entire bag, the entire space without any separator. So that would be helpful if you're trying to use this maybe for travel and you don't want to lug around camera gear. You can remove that separator completely and just use this as a regular, big backpack that'll hold whatever you need it to hold. Another thing in this compartment is kind of a smaller pocket, which is, maybe hidden away. You might not notice that it's there, but it's right here on the front flap. You can get in there, and it is kind of hard to say, maybe a liter, maybe liter and a half in space there. So you can fit a fair bit of additional items. It's just kind of an empty cavernous space here. So there's no separators or anything like that inside of that. But if you're just looking to dump some loose things in here, you could totally do that. And that's maybe another thing that I might change if I was making a version 2 of this, is that I would like to have maybe like a felt lined smaller pocket. It could be internally here, or maybe on the outside right here, where you can put something like your phone or your sunglasses. I know a lot of backpacks have that, and I absolutely love when they have those little small compartments. So if we could maybe change this out for that kind of pocket, or even throw an additional pocket at the front here just for sunglasses or your smartphone or what have you, I think that'd be really cool. Okay, so we have done enough here. Let's get into the main pocket of this backpack, the thing that really makes it all worth it, and that is where you're going to keep and store all of your camera gear. So I'm going to go ahead and open that up and show you what that looks like inside. Okay, and actually, before we open that up, I want to tell you about another little pet peeve of mine and another issue that I have with this bag, and that is, as I mentioned, I love these zippers, right? I love the tassels that they have on them. Well, this front compartment that we talked about earlier, where you can kind of put some additional loose items in, and the compartment that holds your camera, they both have the same kinds of zippers. And as you can see here, they can kind of get mixed up a little bit, and it can be hard to know which one you're grabbing when you're trying to access one pocket or the other. So that, I think, could be remedied by perhaps having maybe even different colored tassels or different size tassels on them. But that is, a small annoyance that I have with this bag, is that sometimes these will get kind of mixed up. And so what I end up doing is I just move maybe the tassels for this front compartment to the front. So that way I know that that's if I want to access the very front here. And if I want to get into where my camera gear is, then I have those zippers over here to the side. That's an easy fix for that. But again, it shouldn't be something that we have to try to figure out as consumers. They should make that a little bit easier, I think, for us. So hopefully, again, if they come out with a version 2 of this, they find a way to kind of remedy that. But without further ado, let's go ahead and unzip this compartment and open this up. And this is where you will have your camera gear. So as you can see, I kind of have it set up. It's a little messy here because I didn't really organize it much prior to doing this video. but effectively your camera will go right in here with the handle facing this direction. And that's so that way you can access it from the outside. And I'll go ahead and unzip that little horseshoe pocket here, or that, opener. And so from here, you can reach in and grab your camera really easily, just swinging your bag around to the side to get to it. You also have several different dividers here, so you can sort this up in whatever way you want. They're all Velcro, so you can connect them to each other. But for me, normally I'll put my camera right in here, maybe a tripod, a small little handheld tripod or something like that, maybe some batteries down here, additional lenses, cleaning cloths, all that stuff. Really I'm able to fit, everything that I would need for a little vacation, a camera with maybe like a 24-70 lens, an additional prime lens or something like that in here. You can organize it in whatever way you see fit. And ultimately, for me, there's plenty enough space for even some professional work if you're trying to get that done. So it's not going to house every piece of camera equipment that you might own, but it's definitely enough for a vacation or for just a few days of wanting to take photos casually or even professionally on kind of like a lighter level. Now, one thing, again, I'm giving you the pros and the cons here. One thing that I might try to improve with another version of this is, although I do think this does ultimately work with, the different dividers that they have set up, they're not the most sturdy dividers, and they will hold your camera gear in place, but sometimes things might shift around. Perhaps if the divider is connected to the back side of the bag itself and not just to each other, that would help, because you might find things sliding underneath the dividers. That's kind of a nitpick, but I do think that there could be some improvement done with the actual dividers themselves. Overall, though, it totally works for me. I haven't had any real problems with it at all. Just some minor inconveniences of maybe a battery slipping into another section or something like that. But overall, I think really, really good. I know that some people prefer, you'll notice that this opens from the front in order to access your camera gear. And I know some people prefer opening from the back side of the bag itself as opposed to opening to the front, which is, more of a security thing, because you don't want anybody opening this up and all of your stuff falling out, or if you leave it open for whatever reason. I don't mind it. I like this front opening compartment, and I kind of prefer it just because it's easier for me to access, but I do understand that some people may prefer the alternative and don't mind that it's more difficult to get to your gear. In fact, they might prefer that it's more difficult to get to your gear so that there's no accidents or anything like that. But I haven't had any problems with that at all. I've done quite a bit of travel with this, and it hasn't been an issue. So I enjoy the ability to access this from the front, but if that's not your kind of thing, if you prefer the back access, then, again, this might not be something for you. So, okay, we've gone through, I think, every bit and piece of this Brevite jumper. Who do I think this backpack is for? Well, I think for one, if you are somebody like me who likes to have a bag that will hold all of your camera gear, but you don't want something super big and bulky, you want something that's sleek and maybe a little stealthy that you can carry around day to day or on a little weekend trip or even an international trip like I've done a couple times, then I think this will totally work for you. Now, if you're looking for something that is super high level professional, gear, then this is not the kind of bag that would work necessarily for that situation. Although you could make it work, it's not built for that. Another thing, though, that I really love about this is the price. Now, right now, I think on Brevite's website, it's listed at something like $160 to $170, and that's USD for any of my international friends. But when you look at the price of a lot of these higher quality, higher level backpacks, they can get up there around $300 or more. So around $160, $170, I think is a really great price for something like this. I was able to find it on Amazon for a fair bit cheaper than that. So I'll go ahead and link to that in the description box below. But you might want to check both of those links, see what it's going for on their website, see if there's any discounts. If not, jump on over to Amazon in that Amazon link, and you might be able to even get a better deal there. Either way, whether it's $160, $170, or maybe a little bit less than that, I think it is totally worth it. The quality of this has absolutely held up over the past 3.5 years. I haven't had any problems with it, and I think it's really money well spent. So, okay, let's go ahead and jump back to my main camera then and wrap this whole thing up. And that is it, my friend. I absolutely love the Brevite jumper. It is my favorite camera backpack on the market right now. Is it perfect? No, there's definitely some room for improvement, but overall, I totally do not regret buying this, and I'm most likely going to have it for several years to come. Now, if you want to check out the backpack for yourself, I'll go ahead and link to the website, Brevite's actual website, in the description box below. as well as some Amazon links where I was able to find this backpack for a bit cheaper than the actual website. So if you want to see if you can get a few bucks off of the bag, go ahead and check those links out in the description. If you have any questions at all about the Brevite jumper, let me know in the comments below. I'm just a small independent channel here, so I'm definitely not an expert when it comes to these kinds of things, but I'll do my best to help you out. If there are specific camera bags that you want me to compare this one to, also let me know in the description box. I'm totally down to check those out. Otherwise, thanks for hanging out, and I'll catch you next time in the spare tech room. Be good.